Regional final, and right now let's set your starting lineups courtesy of the public address announcer Tom Ryan.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Pontiac Silverdome for today's regional final game between the St. John Redmen and the Duke Blue Devils. And now let's meet the starting lineups. For St. John's, at forward, a 6'7" junior from the Bronx, New York, number 21, Malik Seeley. For Duke, at forward, a 6'7" freshman from Reston, Virginia, number 33, Grant Hill. For St. John's, at forward, a 6'7" senior from the Bronx, New York, number 33, Billy Singleton. For Duke, at forward, number 22, a senior from Clifton Park, New York, Greg Kubek. For St. John's, at center, a 6'11" junior from Sunnyside, New York, number 41, Robert Werdan. For Duke, at center, a 6'11" junior from Angola, New York, number 32, Christian Leitner. For St. John's, at guard, a 6'6" junior from Denver, Colorado, number 22, Chucky Sproling. For Duke, at guard, a 6'4" sophomore from Lancaster, Texas, number 12, Thomas Hill. For St. John's, at guard, a 6'2" junior from Syracuse, New York, number 12, Jason Buchanan. For Duke, at guard, a 6' sophomore from Jersey City, New Jersey, number 11, Bobby Hurley. And the coaches for St. John's in his 23rd season, Lou Carnesecca. For Duke in his 11th season, Mike Kraszewski.
These two met in last year's tournament, a second round match, won by Duke 76-72. We'll be back with the rematch in just a moment. Here's how they got to the regional final. St. John's by 7 over Northern Illinois. An 8-point win over Texas, and then a blowout of the Buckeyes. For the Duke Blue Devils, they opened up with a 29-point win over Northeast Louisiana, 15-point win over Iowa, and then Connecticut fell victim to them on Friday night by 14. The officials, Dave Libby from San Diego, California, Tim Higgins from Ramsey, New Jersey, Rich Ballesteros from San Francisco. The alternate, George Evans from Selma, Alabama. Seeley and Leitner on the opening tip, controlled by the Redmen. The 4 seed in the Midwest against the 2 seed, the Duke Blue Devils.
Probably the toughest matchup here is Kubek on Singleton. Singleton very good at getting low post position and has a lot of weight on Kubek.
Jason Buchanan, that's a 2-pointer short. Werdan gets the offensive rebound, and a foul called on Bobby Hurley. You remember St. John's first trip down the floor against Ohio State, where they had 4 opportunities, 4 offensive rebounds. They grab one quickly here. Amazing, Jim. This club only 0.7% of the out-rebound their opponents, which is amazing for a team with that degree of success, and actually out-rebounded Ohio State by 1. In the lane to Seeley, right over Hill. Hill got a hand on it. Now, when you say right over Hill, very few people are quick enough off the floor as Hill is to guard Seeley's jumper. Kubek missing the 2, and Seeley with the rebound. Snaps it out to Buchanan. He'll reset, get it inside to Werdan. Chucky Sproling, he's had a hot hand in the tournament, but this time he throws it away. Jim, remember in the Ohio State games, Sproling tried to feed the low post by putting that spin on the ball? It's really not a good pass to feed the post man. It's got to be a much more direct play. It didn't work on that particular time either. It was the same end of the floor. Exactly. It's almost the same angle, same end of the floor. And Grant Hill, the outstanding freshman. Looks the jumper, off the mark. Rebound underneath. And St. John's really crashed the boards that time. And I'm sure that Mike Krzyzewski wants to see Grant Hill get off the snide. He played very poorly the other night and had been playing extremely well. Buchanan takes it all the way for the game's first 2. Jason Buchanan, averaging 16 a game in this tournament. Now, Buchanan is a roamer on defense. Watch him. He'll go and look for steals. Hurley's got to be aware of that. Good pass, Thomas Hill to Leitner, and he lays it in.
Leitner was 0 for 7 last year in the game against St. John's. A game carried by Duke by their old veterans, Ricky Henderson and Abdel Nabi.
Billy Singleton. And it goes through Seeley's hands. A break opportunity for Bobby Hurley. Lifts it over to Grant Hill. The follow by Thomas Hill.
Good dish by Hurley, waiting to the last minute to get it to Grant Hill. Hill still looking for that basket. He's really struggling.
Chucky Spaulding with a 3.
We talked about Wordan the other night. I thought Spaulding was a big difference, too, the way he came out and positively looked for his shot.
His last 2 games against Texas, he was 6 for 6. And against Ohio State, 6 of 10 from the floor. He's been a big lift in this tournament with Coach Lou Carnesecca.
Of course, that's how you get in these games when you have guys playing so momentum. And Hill just cannot get it going.
Stolen back, though, by Hurley. And a foul called on Billy Singleton as Hurley took it away from him.
Nice move by Christian Leitner. Put his arms around Grant Hill and said, hey, look, it'll start happening for you. You get a freshman, he's got to keep that positive attitude going.
He lost the ball to Grant Hill on the way up.
See, I don't think that Billy Singleton can play him at all on that end of the floor. Hill could ever get started. Just much too quick for him.
Leitner sets a pick out high, and then a foul called on the drive. Hurley driving. And it's against Jason Buchanan.
2 entirely different type of defenders is Jason Buchanan and Hurley. Hurley much better at taking on his man one-on-one. Buchanan is more of a chaser. He looks for steals.
Kubek, the big senior, having an outstanding tournament. We keep talking about guys who have given the team a lift for each of these teams. And how about Greg Kubek?
Jim, it even shocked you a little bit when I said, how about him in the first game of the tournament? Did not score. That really surprised me.
Came back with 18 in the win against Connecticut. Wordan inside to Seeley, and Seeley misses the layup. Singleton has the loose ball.
How about 3 seconds?
How about a tie-up situation? They didn't call that either. Finally, Duke comes out with it. That pass tipped by Buchanan.
Of course, with Billy Singleton, sometimes when he makes a drive across the lane, because of his lack of speed, it could be 3 seconds. But boy, he is a smart ball player and gets a lot done, despite that lack of quickness.
They lob it back out to Leitner. Making a move on Wordan.
Oh, he walked on that play, got by with it.
Banked it home. The 2 centers from the state of New York. Christian Leitner from Angola, about 30 miles outside of Buffalo on Lake Erie, and of course Wordan from Sunnyside, New York.
Good step out by Leitner. If he's going to step out that far, Wordan has got to roll to the basket.
4 turnovers now on St. John's as Spaulding traveled with it. Here comes Brian Davis for the Blue Devils, in for Kubek. Kubek will sit early. He was struggling yesterday with a stomach virus following his big outburst against UConn.
Now, personally, from a physical standpoint, Davis makes Duke a lot tougher for St. John's to match up with because he can go play Seeley.
Leitner takes the jumper. Rebound, Wordan.
Got to question that shot.
Wordan thought he was tripped. They call a walking violation on Wordan. St. John's with 5 early turnovers, and Duke with the advantage.
Back in the Silverdome, Duke with the early lead. You know, contrary to what you might think, St. John's would rather be playing Duke today than Connecticut, even though they beat the Huskies twice during the regular season. Assistant coach Ron Rutledge told me just before the game that they feel mentally prepared better to face Duke, and that's because this is a new season and Duke provides a new challenge. Jim?
That's a law.
Leitner with the left hand, and they call it this time, Billy.
Christian Leitner looking for his shot early on, and you know, Duke was having very good success just running their offense, getting some easy shots. I think Christian Leitner taking some bad ones the last 2 times down the floor.
Leitner and Wordan fighting for position.
Good help by
Wordan takes
Thompson.
1 bounce with it and scores.
Picks up where he left off the other night.
21 points, career high for Wordan against Ohio State. Grant Hill will take the open shot.
And I guarantee you, Mike Krzyzewski gave a sigh of relief on that one. This young man could have a big day today because of his quickness factor over Singleton if he ever gets started. And he was playing so well after he came back off that injury.
Singleton on the blocks. Ball was knocked out of his hands. Billy Singleton was a key part of that game last year, Billy, in the second round when these two met. Had a technical foul called on him in the final 6 minutes of the game.
Well, you think about that game. You know, Duke losing most of their firepower off of that team. And in the case of St. John's, everything back. So, you know, on that base, you would say St. John's got an advantage, but really not the case.
Billy really still miffed at that call last year. He said he didn't say anything. St. John's had a 7-point lead at the time. Here's Sealy. Brian Davis, he can sky.
St. John's gets back on defense very well. Here's Leitner taking his time, getting over half court. Early didn't even realize it and shoots it anyway. It was 4-on-5 because Leitner had not yet crossed half court.
Three-pointer for Bobby Hurley, a 6-point lead for Duke. Buchanan stops his dribble.
And almost traveled. And again, you see how well Hurley plays the ball.
Sproling has already hit 1 3. Not this time. It's hit by Sealy. Comes into the hands of Hurley. Bounce pass to Davis. Wow. Missed the lay-in.
Had to start from too far out.
Singleton. Power move.
Uses that body so well down inside, and then he extends away. Just doesn't let the shot blocker get to him.
All 5 Duke starters have scored in this game, and Kubek is on the bench, replaced by Brian Davis.
Interesting clear-out situation for Grant Hill that time. Didn't take advantage of it.
Hurley again. Jordan with the easy rebound.
I think Duke is surprisingly looking to take some shots quickly before their offense could take advantage of it.
Thomas Hill came down court, reached in, got the steal from behind. Behind the back, off the hands of Buchanan. Now Kubek, Crawford Palmer, and Bill McCaffrey come in. 3 subs for the Blue Devils, replacing Grant Hill, Thomas Hill, and Christian Leitner.
Well, what does that spell in a hurry? What Mike Krzyzewski's thinking, that he's going to try to wear St. John's down, a club that plays an awful lot of minutes out of their starters. Sproling did not come out of the game against Ohio State. Prior to that, Sealy had played 40 minutes in both NCAA tournament games. So you can see that Mike Krzyzewski's going to want to keep this pressure on and use his deeper bench.
Well, I asked Sealy, what's the difference you see in Duke this year? He says they have more bodies than last year. That's certainly true. McCaffrey.
Sproling, an outstanding defender, gave McCaffrey nothing there.
15 on the shot clock.
Little 1-4, looking for people to move. Sproling again, defending beautifully.
Brian Davis. Missing the 2, and Jordan with a good rebound. Leads it to Singleton. Here's Sproling on the perimeter. A little too soft on the pass to Singleton.
Nice steal by McCaffrey, dropping back down inside to help on the low post. Hurley's beating Buchanan on the dribble, as opposed to the other way around on the other end. I think he can drive on Buchanan and dish.
Here he's driving.
There he is.
The ball is stripped, but a foul on the hands by Buchanan. That's 2 on Buchanan now, and the 3rd team foul on St. John's.
Jim, sometimes when you're playing against an outstanding defender player who has a lot of steals, it's good to go ahead and penetrate with your dribble to see if he can really handle you one-on-one. In this case, I think Buchanan has great defensive stats, but I don't see him playing great defense on the ball handler.
In the act of shooting, so Hurley will shoot 2. Dan has had some nagging injuries with the leg.
Now you can see taped up heavily there. Scott did a good job off the bench against Ohio State. And remember last year, the man that had the huge game against Duke, the best of his career, Sean Muto.
We'll be seeing Sean Muto.
11 points, 6 rebounds, and only 16 minutes. So you'd think maybe Louis would go back and say maybe he can do it again for him.
Buchanan called for offensive, and that's 3 on Buchanan.
You cannot right there. Magnificent footwork. Watch the footwork on Hurley. Backing up, staying right there, keeping his body in front of Buchanan so Buchanan couldn't turn the corner.
Well, that's the biggest moment of this first half. Jason Buchanan straddled with 3 personal fouls. Got a lot of basketball for you next Saturday. The Final Four show, noon Eastern, hosted by Andrea Joyce, and the women's Final Four will follow. And then Pat O'Brien will host things from Indianapolis. With Singleton trying to save it, and he does to Seeley.
You see how quick Sproling was to go ahead and make McCaffrey's shot a tough one.
That pass too strong by David Kane, who has come in now for Buchanan.
And Louis Carnesecca on the sideline holding his hands up like, whoa, where are you going? This is not St. John's basketball to try to attack like that. You know, once a year, what he showed against Ohio State, that was it, boys. From now on, play St. John's ball.
Leitner back in for Palmer, posting up on Chanel Scott. Kubek with a three-pointer. Yes! Very revealing stat a moment ago. 9 turnovers by St. John's, only 1 by Duke. St. John's a team that does not turn it over that often.
Kubek, big 18 points against Connecticut. Senior experience starting to show now. Beautiful feed.
That Kane to Singleton, and he scores it.
Nice job by Kane.
6-point lead for Duke.
Jim, Kane, as opposed to Buchanan, guards the dribbler much better.
Ryan Davis, he'll take it. Leitner on the follow, and he is hacked. Let's get a report now from Andrea Joyce.
All right, Jim. Robert Worden, you remember, injured his calf in the Big East tournament. He has apparently re-aggravated that injury. No word yet on when he'll be back in the game, Jim.
Okay.
But Jim, look at him right there. You can see the pain on his face when he tries to put pressure just on the bench there, holding that towel in his mouth, and that's not a Jerry Tarkanian impersonation. He's in some pain.
Foul was on David Kane. Leitner will shoot 2. ACC, of course, led the league in field goal percentage and already named 2nd team All-America this year. Christian Leitner averaging 20 a game.
Jim, one stat that you and I looked at was interesting today. His rebound totals in the last 9 games have really been down. I don't know if that's caused by a style of play or a lack of aggressiveness or people putting the body on it.
Single-digit rebounding figures the last 9 games for Leitner.
Nice D.
Kane turns it over to Grant Hill.
He's a finisher.
Here's Leitner trailing and off Leitner's hands.
Good job by St. John's getting back. They just have great transition defense. Tough to get a fast break on them uncontested.
Well, with the ice pack on Worden, we're going to see a lot of minutes today, evidently, out of Chanel Scott. We've said all season when we've seen St. John's, we really like the look of this freshman. His biggest test today.
Beautiful pass.
Singleton underneath.
Second good dish inside by Kane.
Singleton has 6 points. Midway, first half, a 6-point Duke lead. Led Leitner too much. Singleton picks it up for St. John's.
He's got a good defensive position that time on Leitner.
Seeley now. He wants the shot. He makes it. Malik Seeley's first 2 of the game. He averages 22 and leads this team in scoring. 3rd in the Big East overall behind Murdoch and Billy Owens.
Leitner's slow getting down the court again. He really looks like he's been out of breath early on in this game.
Leitner skips it over to Hurley. 3-pointer. His 2nd of the game. 7 for Bobby Hurley.
Young man with coming into the game, 23 assists and only 3 turnovers in NCAA tournament play, and everybody putting pressure on him. So he's doing it on both ends of the floor now.
And a fight for it. St. John's basketball. Kubek trying to take it away from Singleton. McCaffrey's coming in along with Brian Davis. Here's the lineup now after the women's Final Four on Saturday. Pat O'Brien will host the Final Four show at 5 Eastern. Game 1, we already know now. It's Kansas and North Carolina. The tip, 5:39 Eastern time. And the winner of this game against UNLV in the second game. Chanel Scott, Grant Hill on him, missing. Seeley almost came down with a big rebound. Here's McCaffrey just off the bench again and gets the soft roll. Billy McCaffrey.
Jim, that's where he's most dangerous. In the open court when he can pull up and take that jumper uncontested. It's a very soft shot. And you see Duke going to a 1-2, 1-1, about three-quarter court press. Let's see if they stay in a zone.
Chucky Sprawling in the corner to Singleton. Lobs it too high over Scott. McCaffrey saved it to the wrong man. And Hurley runs it down in the corner. He'll run the middle. On the wing to Davis. Davis,
what a great play. They just will not allow Duke to get that uncontested fast break. And here comes Bourdain in, but he is really limping.
He's limping noticeably now as he comes in for Chanel Scott.
Might be that Louis is just going to try to test that leg for a minute or two to see if he, before it all tightens up on him. He's guarding Grant Hill. Hill ought to take it.
Hurley, another three.
Young man from St. Anthony's is having a game. And you got to remember, Jason Buchanan, who was going to be his major singular opponent today, is sitting on the bench with 3 fouls.
Double-digit lead for Duke. Trying to pave a path back to the Final Four.
A tradition unlike any other. The Masters on C.
Duke leads it 27-15 with 7:57 remaining in the first half, and St. John's already has 12 turnovers. Duke 4 of 6 from three-point land, shooting it much like it did against Connecticut.
But very uncharacteristic of a St. John's team to turn the ball over this much early on. Buchanan's out of there, have to understand that, but Kane has done a good job as a replacement as far as ball handling goes.
Bourdain remains in for the Redmen. And we believe it might be a sore ankle, twisted ankle instead of that nagging calf injury. And a foul called on Brian Davis of Duke, who was battling with Billy Singleton. First on Davis, second on Duke. That's only 2 fouls on Duke in the first half.
Jim, with the lineup that's on the floor, where Dan will have to guard a forward, it'll be Davis or Grant Hill. I think that Duke, with his leg like that, ought to try to take advantage of it and make him play a man outside and drive on him.
Dan gets it over to Seeley.
Pretty good recovery by Thomas Hill there.
I thought Seeley would put it up. Here's Kane now. And we're down with a follow. Good play by the man off the bench with the injury.
And Duke extremely small on the floor right now. You see Leitner getting ready to come back in the game. See where Dan is on Grant Hill. Be smart for Hill to take him. Oh, here, see what they did right away. They went to a 1-4, put Grant Hill on Bourdain. No way Bourdain could stay with him.
And they find McCaffrey in the corner. Too strong for the jumper. Let's get a report from Andrea Joyce.
And Lou Carnesecca's message to his team is patience. Don't try to come back all at once. Just chip away at this Duke lead and don't try to force it. He'd also like to see his players step up the defense, Jim.
All right, Andrea, and we see now Christian Leitner comes in for Duke, replacing Davis, his roommate, who sits with 2 fouls.
Leitner also is capable of stepping out, as we saw against Shaquille O'Neal and among other people, where he can step out and take a big man one-on-one. St. John's picks their offense up much higher now, trying to get some back cuts.
Scrolling. Look at Kane in there. Just too small to get the rebound away from Grant Hill. McCaffrey setting up for the jumper. The 2. And Seeley with another rebound. That's 5 rebounds for Malik Seeley. He's not getting his points, but getting the rebounds today.
Being well guarded by Thomas Hill so far in this contest. But he'll get his.
He leads the team in points, rebounds, and minutes, and there's a
Over-aggressive play by Bobby Hurley. His second personal foul, 4 on Duke.
With 6:14 to go, Mike Krzyzewski does not want to see him pick up his third. He feels he has a big advantage here. With Buchanan's got 3. He wants to make sure that Hurley doesn't end the first half in the same shape.
So Brian Davis is back in. We'll see a lot of ball handling, I'm sure, by Grant Hill.
Exactly. Grant Hill will move to the back court. But he's been a little unsteady with his game. Be a pretty good guy to press.
St. John's, 5 on the floor. Missing the 1 starter, Jason Buchanan, who has 3 fouls. Singleton, Werdan, Sproling, and Seeley. Seeing action.
Davis and Thomas Hill are so quick when they play somebody one-on-one.
Offensive foul called on Malik Seeley. Maybe he's getting a little frustrated.
Exactly. The quickness of Thomas Hill and Davis, when they overplay a man, even when a man beats them, they recover in a hurry.
First on Seeley, 6 on St. John's. But they're already approaching their turnover ratio per game.
For the whole season, and here we are with 5:45 to go in the first half.
With Hurley on the bench with 2 fouls, the Duke lineup: Grant Hill, Bill McCaffrey, Brian Davis, Thomas Hill, and Christian Laettner. Well, they've lost the Duke numbers on the scoreboard. It's one way of playing a team, not knowing how many points they have. Just play all out, right?
Nice play by Seeley, helping out.
We're at the Silverdome in Pontiac, Michigan, the site of the Midwest Regional Final. Jim Nance, Billy Packer, and Andrea Joyce. 1988 Midwest Regional was here, won by Kansas on its way to the national championship. Danny Manning and that team advanced from here. Hill loses the handle, but on the follow-up, Ryan Davis.
Yes, he gets fouled on the reach-in. It was a lucky play for Duke. And again, Grant Hill just not able to control the ball on the dribble.
Shaping up as an excellent Final Four as 3 teams are all set for Indianapolis. North Carolina and Kansas, which will be the first game in the national semifinals. UNLV advancing with a win over Seton Hall last night. And we'll play the winner of this game. It could be a Duke-UNLV rematch from last year's championship game.
Jim, one of the things in watching that game earlier today, some poetic justice. King Rice hitting the big foul shots down the wire. A young man that was booed by his own fans earlier in the year against Connecticut. It's great to see him have that success. And also Mark Maker, putting on one of the great shows in NCAA in a long, long time. And remember what happened to him the last time on that floor. Yes. So he can go out with his head up.
His career back in '88 had taken a sinister turn in a regional final against this very same Duke team.
They're off and running. Here's Grant Hill.
From Laettner, dunk time for Duke.
Takes a couple of those to make you feel comfortable.
Laettner helping out, getting the assist.
And Hill so much quicker than Singleton. Singleton's got to get down in the low box with him. When he steps out, Hill has a big advantage. And there he is.
Foul away from the action called against Billy Singleton, his second. And here's the previous trip down the floor, the steal.
Good hit ahead, and Grant Hill makes the catch, finishes off. You know, Vegas has some great finishers on the break. Stacey Augmon, Larry Johnson. But I really believe that Duke probably has, in total, the best finishers in college basketball on the break. Thomas Hill, Grant Hill, Christian Laettner, and Brian Davis. There's 4 of them right there that can finish off a break as well as anybody.
1-1 for Grant Hill. By the way, now 15 turnovers on St. John's, and 7 of them go against Billy Singleton.
Well, he's having a problem in regard to quickness. That's why I think he ought to stay down on the low blocks and not come out and expose that lack of quickness.
Duke with its largest lead, 31-17. 4:39 before the half.
Louis Carnesecca over there just trying to keep it close. Not have Duke just blow this game away. Figures maybe get Buchanan back in the game. Jim, you got to think about something. 6-foul rule in the Big East. Buchanan would not be on the bench playing in that regular season situation.
His replacement, David Kane, scores the bucket. Spin move by McCaffrey. Sets himself free for the jumper.
He can make that one all day long, going towards the basket in the open court area.
4 points for Billy McCaffrey.
Key here for St. John's, get the ball down in the low post. Whether it be Sealy or whether it be Werdan, they've got to get it down inside.
Scrolling, lobs it over the hill to Sealy. Sealy will go to the line.
Good move by St. John's. Get Sealy started down low. They've actually got their biggest lineup on the floor right now with Scott and Werdan and Sealy in there. And here comes Sean Muto.
Here's the guy we talked about earlier, had such a big game against Duke last year. His career game, he's a senior from Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, but he had 10 rebounds in the game against Duke last year.
Louis Carnesecca taking Werdan out, and I wonder if he's going to take him down with his trainer. He's talking to him now on the sidelines, realizing Robert just in a lot of pain. Young man had the game of his career just a night ago here.
Sealy for 2. And again, they are working on both the ankle and the calf. He's unlacing the Snickers. One more for Sealy. These are the first free throws of the game for St. John's. 1 of 2 for Sealy.
One of the other things with Dan out of the lineup, he became in the Ohio State game the leading shot blocker in St. John's history, so they're going to lose that aspect of his game as well.
Eclipsed the previous mark of Wayne McCoy. Timeout on the court, Duke by 13.
There's Trixie Hicks.
Back at the Silverdome, where Duke has rolled out to a comfortable lead here in the first half. St. John center Robert Werdan, as you can see, is out of the game. He's in a lot of pain with that re-injured calf injury, and they're putting ice on it right now and just playing it by ear and just taking it a few minutes at a time. But as you can see, Jim and Billy, he's in a lot of pain.
Sean Muto is in there now at center, along with Shawnell Scott. Baseliner short. Sealy usually deadly on that shot.
Good hands by Scott. Leitner was ready to go on the break with that pass and just didn't concentrate on the catch.
Sealy now spinning around to get the shot. Curley snaps it out to McCaffrey. He'll work on Kane behind the back. Sealy flies high, but McCaffrey scores anyway.
Excellent use of behind the back dribble by McCaffrey. The only way he could have gotten to the basket that time.
Now a new largest lead figure of this game, 15-point lead. Double teaming Scott. Scrolling. Short. Rebound McCaffrey. Curley racing. Leitner flying through and a foul call.
Jim, if I were Louis Carnesecca right now, and we'll see that dribble that I talked about McCaffrey, the only way he can get to the hoop here, because Kane has got him cut off, was to put it behind his back, left hand to right, then waits for Sealy to go over the top. Well executed.
They tell me that McCaffrey got a lot stronger last year.
Can't prove it by me.
No, you look at him. I said to his teammates, I said, I've been wanting to say that all season, but I look at him, you just don't believe that figure. Says he put on about 15 pounds. Before the summer, he could only bench press 135, and he increased that figure almost by 100 pounds.
Well, you know, the young man was off to a tremendous year this year until he sprained that ankle in the Michigan game, and it really put him back. He's getting a lot more playing time now in the tournament. You mentioned the other day about his brother being an All-American football player and one of the great wide receivers. Of course, he has a sister that plays basketball for Georgetown, so very athletic family.
Sister Monica and brother Ed, who could be a #1 draft pick next month when the NFL draft. You know.
By Thomas Hill.
Taking away what was one of the great moments for Sean Muto.
I don't know what Christian Leitner was thinking about. I mean, he was going in the other direction. St. John shoots to his right. But how about the quickness by Thomas Hill?
David Kane dumps it into Muto. And a foul called on Kubek. Watch Sean Muto try to mute. Duke defense.
Thomas Hill just takes off here and smacks it down. You know, they list him at 6'4". I think he's bigger than 6'4", but he is one of the quicker leapers around. I was making a point, Jim, if you're Louis Carnesecca right now, you'd almost like your team to not shoot the ball quickly. Try to get in and not let this game be a 20-point halftime situation. Just try to get into halftime without it getting away from you completely.
Grant Hill in for Kubek. Muto will shoot 2. See the wristbands that Muto's wearing. The St. John's contingent forgot to bring him some wristbands, so he had to borrow some from the Detroit Lions just before this game today.
Those look more like arm guards.
They turned them inside out. He had a Lions emblem on those wristbands. I said, what's that all about, while he's going through the layup line? 2 for Muto, and now Hurley, been hot from the outside. Not this time. Gets the rebound.
We've got McCafferty down.
And he limping gingerly on that ankle that has bothered him this season you just spoke of.
But he doesn't want to show it here. There's a competitor. He doesn't want to show Mike Krzyzewski he's hurt at all. He wants to be getting some playing time.
.145 left in the half. Duke by 15.
Good defense by Sealy. Thomas Hill can usually beat a man with that pump fake.
3-pointer Thomas.
It was all solid defense by Sealy.
Chanel Scott with the rebound, and Payne brings it up for St. John's.
Made Hill take a shot that he didn't want.
Now Sealy, jumper, yes. And Malik Sealy now with 5.
You know, he does something that Bernard King does so well, and that is shoot the jumper on the way up. Such a hard technique to develop, and he's got it down solid.
Hurley,
wide.
Another 3 for Hurley. 13 for Hurley, 4 from three-point land.
You got to wonder about the shot selection there. Bobby Hurley's big three-point game. He had 6 of them against NC State this year, 5 against Maryland, so he's capable.
Here's a steal. Hurley now will race against Kane. Grant Hill comes in, but Hurley wisely brings it back, and Duke will hold it before the half.
Waiting on his teammate Christian Laettner to come over half court.
Coming up at halftime, Pat O'Brien, Mike Francesa, and Quinn Buckner will talk with Jerry Tarkanian, who will play the winner of this game today, the national semifinals.
Jim, one point I'd like to make about Louis Carnesecca. His team adjusted so beautifully to play Ohio State, did a lot of things different than what was expected. They only had 1 day to get ready for Duke, and obviously it wasn't enough.
Thomas Hill right before the half.
Touch. Laettner doesn't know why he touched that ball.
That was offensive goaltending with 3.8 seconds remaining in the half. I'm not sure that wasn't going to eventually find its way in the bottom of the cylinder, even without the help.
Yeah, Thomas Hill wanted that. Let's see it up here. Oh, it might have come out. I don't know.
Sealy banks it home. Score it, a 2 for Sealy.
Excellent play by Malik as he splits. Hey, why is that just 2?
His feet had not landed in 2-point territory.
No, I think that's a 3.
Well, they scored a 2. That's the end of the first half with the score. Duke 40 and St. John's 26. Let's look at it again.
I realize he went a long way here, but I believe he started outside the line. Without question. That's a 3. Now, I realize, look at where he landed. He landed 3 or 4 feet inside the line, but when he took off, without question, that was a 3-point play.
Scored as a 2, however, 40-26, Duke. And CBS Sports exclusive coverage of the NCAA Basketball Championship will continue after this message and a word from your local station.
CBS Sports exclusive coverage of the NCAA Basketball Championship Regional Final Game is sponsored by Delta Airlines. We love to fly, and it shows. MCI, friends and family, the people you talk to the most, now cost the least. And by Nike, who reminds you to just do it.
Look like a genie. I'm granting you just one wish. What should I wish for? Do you know? $1 million? Nah, Pack.
They went back in the locker room and they did credit St. John's with a three-point shot. Basically, what it came down to was a miscommunication between the officials. One of them had that as a 2. The other one is at 3. They talked about it. The score is now 40-27, Jim.
And one last look at it as Mike Krzyzewski was incredulous to the score being changed at halftime. He talked with the officials, but clearly Seeley took off in three-point territory and scored a 3. It's a 13-point lead as we begin the second half.
Jim, that may be a 1-point problem, but the thing that is a huge problem, if I'm St. John's, they got 1 point back on the board, but I do not see Robert Worden in the arena at this time.
Sean Muto's in for him at the moment. Jason Buchanan's also back in the lineup with 3 fouls. Thomas Hill gets it back outside. Kubek takes the 3. Rebound, Thomas Hill, but over the back. Over the back on Thomas Hill. His first 16 first-half turnovers for St. John's. Hurley's scoring, outscoring the entire backcourt for St. John's. 13 points for Hurley, 8 for Seeley, leads the way for St. John's. Sproling with the jumper.
Jim, you see Mike Krzyzewski working the officials very hard. Oh, that's a walk, but what a pass. Mike Krzyzewski's going to work these officials really hard now at the start of this second half. You figure when you have something like that happen, even if the refs were right, you want to stay on their case for a while. Nice strategy on his part. He wants them to know, hey, guys, I want you to be real sharp in his second half, particularly early on.
For the baseline, he was bumped by Hill. That's 2 quick ones in the second half on Thomas Hill.
There's that old defensive move of hitting a guy in the elbow, and you can see that Seeley's shot came up way short.
Seeley goes to the line.
Another stat, Jim, that we talked about the other night that, of course, is added to. When Duke leads at halftime, and they have it 27 games this year, there are 27-0.
How about when they're not leading at the half this year? They were 2-7.
That's right.
One more for Seeley.
I really think Duke is better off when they start out and trying to run their offense instead of taking quick shots. Make this St. John's team work a little bit defensively.
Leitner gets right by Muto. Banks it home.
Beautiful shot. You notice the reverse English he put on that ball on the layup.
10 for Christian Leitner.
Muto have his hands full there trying to handle Leitner on the drive.
Muto calls for it and gets it. Back out to Sproling. Buchanan has been quieted because of the foul situation.
Sproling has to be careful when he catches looking for that jump shot.
Muto with the jumper way short. Rebound by Grant Hill.
Now Uli Karnaseka just put his head in his hands.
Another great bounce pass. Hill over to Leitner. Score it and a foul.
St. John's in serious trouble, Jim.
How about the passing on that one, on that break? Hurley to Hill to Leitner.
A much quicker team on the floor for Duke than in the case of St. John's. Nice job on the dish. And there, Christian Leitner again using that left hand that he does so beautifully when he goes to the basket.
3 on Singleton.
You know, thinking back at that game last year, I didn't realize till today, looking over those old stats, that he did not score in last year's St. John's game. That must be one of the few times in his career, because and particularly in the NCAA tournament, because he's been one of the best players in the NCAA tournament throughout his career.
Baseball pass to Buchanan. And helped by Kubek, gets the steal for Duke. Now Hurley. He is 5 for 7 in the game from the floor. 15 points for Hurley.
Talked about him being beat out for all conference by Corsiani and Monroe, among others. He is both fire and ice today.
Largest lead of the game for Duke. 19-point lead.
Oh, beautiful defense.
Oh, he lost it.
You know what he was looking to do? He was looking to go ahead and throw the lob to Leitner.
Ryan Davis takes the warm-ups off. As you look at Sean L. Scott, now here's Davis.
And see what Mike Krzyzewski's doing now strategically, playing full court pressure on St. John's. Figures he's got him worn down. He knows where Dan is not going to be available to come in the game. They're already shorthanded. And he's just going to go ahead and force them to play a full court game.
Crawford Palmer's also in for Duke, and Leitner sits along with Thomas Hill. The double team on Buchanan, twist back over to Sproul.
The last 5 years, Krzyzewski 23-5 in NCAA tournament play.
Here's a
This
steal.
is one of the reasons why he's got the strategy and the players.
Hill will go to the line. Udo fouled him. Next week, the Final Four show, 5 o'clock Eastern. Pat O'Brien will be hosting. Kansas and North Carolina will be the first game, and the winner of this one plays UNLV. And that win today by Dean Smith gave him 47 wins in the NCAA tournament, tying him with John Wooden for most wins in tournament history.
Which is incredible considering those years that Coach Wooden went year after year to the national championship. A couple other things that I think is interesting. In the last 5 years, talking about the type of teams now that look like they're going to be in the Final Four, the best records in the NCAA tournament: Duke 21-5, UNLV 20-4, Kansas 17-3, and North Carolina 15-5. Could be the Final Four. Those 4 teams have the best record over the last 5 years. Look at this pressure. Oh, look at this pressure.
Has it taken away, and Hurley blocked but scored. Goaltending.
Mike Krzyzewski taking no prisoners here. Full court pressure. Louis shorthanded. For all intents and purposes, this game is history. Just fresh troops coming off that bench. And the maestro can do nothing but stare down on the court, realizing what's going to take place here.
Leitner's back in. Antonio Lang comes in. You say put this one away?
Yes, this game, from a standpoint of who will be the winner, has been decided. And this is only 17 minutes to go. That's
Paul scrolling short, and the rebound by Davis. Skip pass galore.
Oh, Leitner broke to the basket, wanting the return pass. He's a little upset that he didn't get that ball back. He's smart. That's a good move by Hill to get it back into him.
Hill will take the 3 as they kicked it back out. Udo with the rebound. Sealy. Malik Sealy. Malik Sealy now in double figures for the 70th straight game at St. John's. 11 for Sealy in this one.
Remember in the first half how Hurley tried to beat Buchanan with the dribble. Hadn't tried it yet here in the second half. Mike Krzyzewski on one knee, trying to get his team to stay back in their offensive set.
Antonio Lang hollered for it, got it, and then Trout turned it over.
You know what's happening right now to Duke? They're so anxious to put this away that they haven't been able to run the half-court offense very patiently.
20-point lead, fast break points in this game. Duke has 20, St. John's 2. There's an 18-point advantage.
Well, St. John's not much of a fast-breaking team in any circumstances until we saw him go against Ohio State's press the other night.
Sealy, 15:40 to go in this one.
This could be a 5-second call. Very close. The official put the ball in Duke's hands, and they just didn't get it in bounds.
Davis and a steal. And L. Scott
really gotten away. They're all going one-on-one now. They're not in their offense. Mike Krzyzewski may call a timeout here.
That's down to 16.
Yeah.
It had been 22.
His team has really gotten out of the flow.
Leitner wants it with 3 men on him. Taken away. Jason Buchanan. He's got guys beside him. Here's Sproling on a wing. Short. But the follow. There's a empty trip for St. John's, although keep possession. And that's one they really needed.
2 easy putbacks for Sproling.
It'll be St. John's basketball when we come back.
Number 10, Mullen in for St. John's.
Limping from the locker room, Robert Wardan heading back to the St. John's bench after re-injuring calf injury earlier in the first half.
Terrence Mullen in the game. Of course, his brother helped lead St. John's to the last Final Four in '85.
Buchanan, tough shot. Leitner with the rebound. Seeley has all 7 St. John's points in the half. Lubeck short.
See, I think Duke, very bad shot selection during this run the last couple of minutes. Had a chance to salt the game away, and now are trying to bury him too quickly.
Oh, Grant Hill trying to make the steal. Let's get the report from Andrea Joyce.
All right, Jim, as you just saw, Robert Wardan did come back out to the court. I talked to Dr. Irving Glick, and he says that the injury isn't as bad as it was the first time, but obviously Robert's still in a lot of pain. He can put a little bit of weight on it, but certainly isn't going to play anymore. Back to you guys.
Seeley misses, and St. John's missing on its last 4 shots. So the lead stays at 16.
Leitner looking to put the ball on the floor and go by Scott. You can see at this timeout what Mike Krzyzewski did. Said, fellas, let's get back into the offense, run our stuff, make St. John's work, and get some easy baskets.
Hold on Scott called.
Here we see that 75-72 score. Excellent basketball game on the part of both Temple and North Carolina. The outside shooting under pressure was outstanding.
How about Kansas, Carolina?
Kansas, Carolina. You know, one of the things that I would wonder about there, Roy Williams, and we've seen this before, matter of fact, with Mike Krzyzewski and Bob Knight. When you go back to coach against your mentor, it is so difficult. I saw it with Denny Crum and John Wooden in 1975. It is really a lot of pressure for the man that formerly was the assistant. Tough to keep your concentration.
They say at last touch, Seeley turning it back over to Duke. Yes, Bobby Knight and Mike Krzyzewski. In fact, Knight's the only guy in this miraculous string of years for Duke to knock him out of the tournament. In the Midwest in '87,
that's right.
Indiana beat Duke.
And of course, that was just another one of the teams that went on to win a national championship that beat Duke. You know, it's not that when they lose to the guy that eventually wins it.
They lost to the eventual champion for the last 5 years. Leitner, good pass to Hill. Oh, big body slam by Shawnell Scott. Grant Hill hitting the deck for the second time at this site.
But the good thing there that Mike Krzyzewski got out of that last time out is his team got back into their offense. Stopped trying to go one-on-one and looking for shots that really weren't part of the offense at all.
Reminded me of the one the other night when Grant fell on his tailbone.
Yes. Somewhat of an undercut there.
Grant Hill trying to go to the Final Four for the first time for him as a player. He's attended Final Fours with his father, Calvin Hill, of course, who used to take him. While Grant was in high school, he would take him to Final Fours, went to Lexington, went to Dallas and Kansas City. Told me yesterday he remembers stopping by at a few of the CBS parties. Back in the good old days.
Well, Duke is now, Jim, last 4 minutes have not scored. There they go. They finally get one. And yet, St. John's not able to close much of the gap.
There's Terrence Mullen handing it back to Buchanan on the baseline. Seeley.
Good step out by Seeley on the double low post. Hill just couldn't get out to him.
And you go back to that three-point basket at the end of the half. Seeley now has scored the last 12 points for St. John's. And here he goes again.
How about 14?
Yep. How about it? With style.
Well, Grant Hill having all kinds of problems. You can see when a young player without experience gets down on his shooting, the rest of his game tends to go as well. And he has got to get himself mentally back into it.
Early short. Kubek on the follow. Rebound right in his hands, and he puts it back in.
But Duke is somewhat lucky in this stretch, being completely outplayed by St. John's.
7 for Kubek. Ryan Davis is ready to check in along with Thomas Hill.
St. John's playing without 2 of their key guys. Werdan, and the fact that he's injured, and Jason Buchanan, the fact that Hurley has taken him out of his game.
Buchanan missing, back to the rim, and it's going against Muto. Crashing the boards and into the back, 3 on Muto. 11:38 left in this regional final with Indianapolis on the line. We welcome you back, and here's the table right now that's been set for the Final Four in Indianapolis. North Carolina, Kansas, and UNLV. And one other note on those 3 teams that have already claimed a spot. Their last time they went to a Final Four, all 3 of them won the national championship.
And the guy that's probably going to fill that other spot has never won one and been there more than anybody else. In terms of playing, let's try to forecast a little bit. I've listened to Bill Walton and Quinn and Mike and some of the guys about it. And I would agree that you've got to have a presence down inside. Here is the presence that Duke has down inside with Leitner. But how in the world would they match up at the center position and also have to match up with Larry Johnson? What they'd probably have to do is put Leitner on a center and guard Larry Johnson with one of their quick men like a Davis or one of the Hills. That would be extremely difficult with Johnson's presence down inside. And if you're at Duke University, the other thing you have to think about, Jim, is the psychological impact of last year's game. I realize that 3 of the key players have graduated and moved on, but there are a lot of these guys that remain from that day. One of the things I think Duke is a much tougher team. They will surprise, I think, UNLV with their tenacity. Number one, and another thing will be a key for them is the fact that they will have a day, more than a day, to prepare for UNLV, and Mike Krzyzewski is very good at that. And the other thing, therefore, to be a much fresher team than they were last year. And I think this ball club is much better defensively than the team last year, and that's going to be necessary. But they do not match up well with UNLV down inside, and that will be a problem.
Muto goes to the bench with 4 fouls. Leitner hits them both. Psychologically, that could actually be a positive also for Duke, Billy, instead of just being damaging.
Well, certainly a lot of incentive there.
There's Buchanan. Nice shot for Buchanan for 3. 14-point lead at the 11-minute mark. 5 for Buchanan.
And of course, now ask me how St. John's can best beat them.
Let's wait a couple of minutes before I ask you that.
Okay.
Down 22 at one time. Now it's at 14. Caffrey swings it back out. Hill looks inside and goes to Davis.
Scott's doing a good job on Leitner, keeping him from getting that ball. Duke wants to go inside to him.
There it is.
There it is.
Leitner splits the defenders and scores.
Well, I won't fault Scott there because he was doing a job battling Leitner, and Duke just made up their mind. We're going down inside with the ball. Leitner kept moving and eventually got it.
17 for Leitner. Buchanan, same shot.
Back and away, hit a 3.
Same result.
Bobby Hurley somewhat upset because he was right in his face. That was a fadeaway jumper.
As close as they've gotten back into it. 13.
And now, by hanging on the ball a little bit, you think St. John's getting 2 things. 1, confidence, and a chance to rest a little bit.
Having to go almost the entire way without Robert Werdan, their star against Ohio State, out with an injured leg.
And Jason Buchanan out with 3 foul shots early.
Same move to Leitner, and he is easily, well, that's an easy call, a hack on the arm by Shawnell Scott.
Well, what you see right now, Mike Krzyzewski saying the key to basketball game, and my old partner Al McGuire used to say the object of the game is to win. And that's what Mike Krzyzewski's doing right now, using up some of the clock, going inside, making things tough on St. John's to make a quick turnaround. There's something interesting interesting, Jim, about this fella. You hear everybody talk. Why does everybody say, I wonder if Kenny Anderson is going pro? Nobody ever says, I wonder if Christian Leitner is going pro. I mean, you're talking about a lottery pick here.
Well, there's certain guys, just the subject never is broached. And,
exactly.
Same thing with Malik Sealy.
Exactly. Well, it's very annoying to me. I think they should just leave the kids alone. Because certainly if you're going to have an opportunity as a pro team, Leitner would be certainly as healthy a prospect as would Kenny Anderson with his size.
Sean L. Scott was trying to get position back in against Leitner, but eventually the reach around steal by Duke. Leitner has made 9 of 9 free throws in this game.
And you see what Duke is doing?
Spread it out.
Exactly. Mike Krzyzewski saying the object is to get back to that Final Four. They tried for the knockout blow, and that wasn't successful from a standpoint of the team really got out of sync. Now he's letting the clock be one of the teammates.
Leitner was calling for the lob.
He's got Singleton on him now.
10 on the shot clock.
He'll one-on-one.
One on Buchanan. Early bounces it in. McCaffrey rejected. And no save by Scott, and still Duke's ball.
Ball blocked out of bounds. It will not be a full reset. It will be set back to 5. It's at 3. It should be at 5 now. Let's see what they're doing. There they got back to 45. There it is.
Duke trying to prove there's no place like Dome. They wanted the Metrodome, now here at the Silverdome, and then would head to the Hoosier Dome. Davis, look at that. Wow.
He almost, again, took off too early.
Yeah.
And just had it go right up over the rim.
Wasn't a clean one.
Yeah, he had the same thing happen in the first half where he started a little too early for his dunk.
His first 2 points. Buchanan with confidence now in the shot.
Beautiful offensive move by Jason because he had used the fadeaway jump shot and looked like he was going to take the jumper from 3-point range, and Hurley went out on him and went right by.
Buchanan went for the steal, set Hurley free, and there's a nice reach-in steal by Sealy.
Sealy knew all along that Hurley would not try to shoot the layup against his shot-blocking ability.
Buchanan finally cooling off. And that's going to Duke.
Now, one of the things that's happening here is that St. John's is sending 5 men to the board, so Duke ought to be able to get a break going.
7:38 away from a rematch at the Final Four.
A tradition unlike any other. The Masters on CBS.
Hi, my name is Mike. This is a story about me and my friends. Like my mom, she's a wonderful mother. And my dad, he is one cool dude. That's my teacher. She is the best.
Mike's a super kid. Mike is very
brilliant,
outspoken.
That's my friend Tracy. I think she's beautiful. Come on, let's take a ride to McDonald's. And there's all my friends. Hey, you know, me and James are our best pals. We are a great team. High is up. Perfect. Ever since I was a little baby, people are always trying to help me. So now I love to say, welcome to McDonald's. May I help you?
When it came to redefining the word luxury, it wasn't a Webster. It was Oldsmobile.
The 98 defines luxury in terms of how much you get, not how much you spend. Anti-lock brakes, fuel-efficient power, computerized suspension, technology found in cars costing thousands more.
And you can always take a Webster at his word.
The new 98, luxury redefined.
Generation Bubbles. Great values, big prizes during Oldsmobile's drive to the Final Four Sell-a-thon. You can't miss.
Check out the lineup Saturday, the Final Four show at noon Eastern. Andrea Joyce will host for the women's Final Four. Connecticut and Virginia in Game 1, followed by the Stanford game, and then the Final Four show from Indianapolis, hosted by Pat O'Brien. Kansas and North Carolina first up, followed by the winner of this game, and at this point it certainly looks like Duke against UNLV.
Still spreading it out.
Oh, Chucky Strolling read it. It comes right around Hurley almost to get the steal again.
Lee Carnesecca is still working over there. Felt that Hurley might have fouled Strolling. Not the case. Shot clock down to 23 here.
Game clock at 7:15.
Jim, it'll be interesting to see the next time St. John's puts up a shot. They're crashing 5 men to the board. I'll be anxious to see if Duke breaks somebody long.
Traveling called on Thomas Hill. UNLV advanced by 12 over Seton Hall. Also a 12-point win by Kansas yesterday. Both of those finals on Saturday. Earlier today, North Carolina with a 3-point victory over Temple.
I think Larry Johnson in that second half performance particularly showed that that's the second time today that Hill has been able to get up there with Seeley.
Great block by Thomas Hill.
Talking about Larry Johnson showed that, my vote anyway, is player of the year. I mean, he just took that game on and put an excellent display.
Carl Beckett's in for St. John's guarding Ryan Davis. I thought you voted for Stacy.
No, I felt that the way Larry played at the end of the year particularly was outstanding.
Here's the Hill block against Seeley.
Now, I talked about Seeley shooting the ball on the way up on the jumper. See, he was ready for the release, and Hill just beats him to that point. Tremendous quickness off the floor. Two shots, Red. Go, Red. Krzyzewski trying to find out who Seeley is guarding. Two shots.
Ryan Davis will shoot 2. He talked about the away game at Wake Forest in February really being the turning point for Duke. The Devils lost in that one. They said we had no focus. We had a team meeting afterwards, and that was what he felt really turned it around that night.
Of course, they've had a couple of occasions where they had to turn it around. That loss up at Virginia, which was an embarrassing loss. Mike Krzyzewski took him right off the bus when they arrived back in Durham, right into the gym for a workout.
Davis replaced by Grant Hill. With 6:27 to go. 63-46 Duke from the Silverdome in Pontiac, Michigan. Jim Nance, Billy Packer, and Andrea Joyce with you. Closing out regional weekend. Buchanan thought about taking another fadeaway 3. Now,
hand reach by Hill. What? You know, Jim, that was interesting because you were looking at the same thing I was in regard to Buchanan's eyes. Did you notice how he was using his eyes as part of the fake? He'd look up at the basket, and he'd look Hurley right in the face, and then back up with the eyes, and normally a telltale sign that you're going to the hoop, but he didn't.
Third foul on Thomas Hill, and the third on Duke. Here's a Seeley 3.
You don't see him take many of those. Then Duke just working the clock here.
Working the field. Wins by 29, 15, and 14. Another double-digit lead in this one. Hurley. Not this time, but gets it back into Thomas Hill. There's a block back. John L. Scott says, hey.
Well, at this point in the game, you have no room for that. All that can do is get you in further trouble. You're not going to intimidate anybody who's got you down by 17 and going to the line. Hill goes up high.
That'll put Hill on the line for 2. You just talked about Larry Johnson as we see Sergio Luke check in for Malik Seeley.
Start feeling old. I played against this young man's father at the University of Florida.
Father
Cliff Luke, an outstanding player, had a great career in Europe.
Later went over and coached in Spain up until this year. Now 2 for Thomas Hill. I was going to tell you, Hill from Lancaster, Texas, played high school basketball against the likes of Larry Johnson, who was a couple of years older, and Oliver Miller of Arkansas.
May be matched up against Larry Johnson, and just hard to comprehend as quick as he is off the floor, but the way Johnson posts up, use that great upper body strength to keep a man away. Be tough.
They replace the shooter as Kubek comes in for Thomas Hill, and Crawford Palmer at the last moment gets in for Leitner.
And the Duke Invitational is what? A week away, huh?
5 out of 6 and 4 in a row.
And yet to ever win that national championship. Vic Boobers took them there 3 times, Bill Foster once, and now Mike.
Singleton, good shot. And Duke has the record for most trips to the Final Four without a championship. They've been there 8 times without winning the title. Whistle on Chucky Sproling. 5:15 left in this game, 17-point lead for Duke. See, Chucky Sproling grew up in Denver, Colorado, and fell in love with the St. John's program the last time St. John's was in a regional final. 1985, the West Final was at Denver, McNichols Arena. Chucky went over, somehow got into the practice, watched the games.
Maybe he knew Calvin Hill's father. He's been getting everybody else into things, as you mentioned earlier. Huh?
McCaffrey comes in for Hurley.
Great game by Hurley. Set the stage early on Jason Buchanan with his defense, and of course shot very well from the outside with those threes.
Hurley leads Duke today in rebounding.
What more can you ask?
7 rebounds with the 17 points. Grant Hill makes it. I'm going to tell you that Sproling went to that St. John's practice, went to the games. Then a friend of his gave him a St. John's hat and a T-shirt. And eventually his high school coach called from Denver, his coach Rudy Carey, and said, I got a kid out here who set the single game scoring record in the state of Colorado.
73 or
74 points. And he loves your program. He wants to come out there and play.
And Louis thought at that point he was getting a score and ended up with a defender. You know, Jim, we're talking about Duke at the Final Four. I think back in '63 with the great Art Heyman, Duke lost in the semifinals to Loyola. And in '64, Jeff Mullins was their leader, lost to UCLA. And then a game where I really thought that they would win the national championship, but they lost in the semifinals to Kentucky at Riley's club. Here's Grant Hill. Let's see if he can finish this one.
He will. No time for Duke. Singleton backs up for the 3, which is short. Right there is Luke to lay it in.
That reminded me of the past that beat your old alma mater.
Thanks for bringing up April 4th,
That's right.
1983. North Carolina State over Houston.
Well, Singleton will call that a shot, a pass, just as Derek Wittenberg did.
So Lorenzo Charles. I was talking to Grant Hill yesterday and a couple of players at Duke about that Phi Slamma team. Short by McCaffrey. Luke on the rebound. Has an outlet man. Jason Buchanan. Good pass and a score by Buchanan. Certainly the Duke style is not like the Phi Slamma style, but he said they love the way they dunk. And there's another one. And they had told me that they were very aware that in the win against Connecticut, they did not have any dunks. Now they've come back with a handful today.
Well, what you have here is St. John's has got to go ahead and crash the boards and take a lot of chances on the pass. So when you make a mistake defensively in that situation, somebody's going to be wide open.
3-pointer for Sproling and a travel on Kubek. 71-55, 3:36 to go, Billy.
I won't use the same language Mike Krzyzewski did right there, but he asked what his guys were doing.
Well, he's going to go back and talk to him about it. Jim Nance and Billy Packer, Andrea Joyce as well. Let's summarize. St. John's being outshot from the free throw line. Duke has 16 more points at the line, and Bobby Hurley, 17 points, 7 rebounds, only 1 turnover. That means he has 4 turnovers in 4 games in this tournament. Offensive foul called on Buchanan.
Great step out by Crawford Palmer. You can see that the screen was set on Bobby Hurley. Nice teamwork there between both clubs talking to each other. And there's the great coach, Louis Carnesecca.
Terrific. At 66, picked up his 500th win this season. Got his team to the Final 8, which no one expected. I hope to go back to his second Final Four. Taken him in '85. St. John's went in '52 also, but of course Louis wasn't the coach.
No, but he played for that coach in another sport.
Frank McGuire in baseball.
That's right, utility infielder.
In fact, Louis may be one of the only coaches, as a reach-in foul was called on Sproling, to have coached in a Final Four and to have played in a College World Series. 1949. 1 year after a guy named George Bush played in the College World Series for Yale. Tonight on CBS 60 Minutes. Who knows how much money Saddam Hussein has hidden away? Well, 60 Minutes does. At least $10 billion stashed in 15 countries. Sounds like you, Billy. Tune in tonight. Evening Shade will follow, then CBS Sunday Movie, The Untouchables. Burley adds to his total. Bobby, of course, was greatly interested in that Seton Hall game yesterday. When we visited with him in the morning, he was attempting to call the Pirates and wish them well before their UNLV game.
As a brother and 2 former teammates, of course, playing on the team. His brother will be there next year.
Jerry Walker and Terry DeHare.
Terry had a great NCAA tournament after struggling a little bit in the Big East.
Seeley set up well, but comes up short. And Antonio Lang has it for Duke.
This will make Louis' record over a period of time of 17-20 in NCAA tournament play. And what's really an interesting stat is they've lost 5 straight opening rounds in the Big East tournament. Oh, that ball
it's right off the leg of Luke right in front of us, but they call it the other way.
But the same official that missed that one is the one that clarified the 3-point play in the first half. So all's fair in love and war.
Jimmy Higgins.
And he laughs a little bit as he goes by.
Marty Clark is in for Duke. There's another outside shot.
Jason shooting line drives now.
15 for Buchanan. Early in traffic, and Buchanan will foul out. That will be it for Buchanan.
To talk about the depth of talent on this Duke team, they don't have their starters on the floor right now, but the 5 guys on the floor, of which 3 did not start, they are 5 former McDonald's High School All-Americans. This team has 8 in total, along with North Carolina's 7. So 15 of the guys out of the 88 that were selected to that will be in the Final Four on 2 teams. Talk about outstanding coaches, but it's not like they're going in there without some talent.
Nice moment. Karnas second, Buchanan. And Buchanan had such a great tournament, Billy, for the Johnnies. Foul trouble today really disrupted his plans.
Sure did. Picked up 3 quick ones, had to sit out. And again, I go back to that Big East rule of 6 fouls. Not to say that he wouldn't have had them under that occasion as well, but you wouldn't have to take him out with only 3 in the first half.
You're talking about McDonald's All-Americans. One slipped away from Coach K's grasp yesterday right here in Michigan. Chris Webber from Country Day High School verbally committed to Michigan. Some say he may be the top prep prospect in the nation. He was one of the guys on the Duke list, and it was down to Duke or Michigan and Michigan State. Webber's going to Michigan.
Looks like Steve Fisher starting to load up that cover a little bit to get his return back to a Final Four.
Marty Clark tries to go between the 2, and Sergio Luke has it. Head to Seeley, pull-up jumper. Crawford Palmer.
And doesn't look to get the ball out. He had people ahead of him for a break.
How about Greg Kubek and Clay Buckley, the senior co-captains of Duke? They're going down in the history books. They're going to set a record that can never be broken.
That's right.
They will be going to their 4th Final Four, the first 2 to ever claim that honor.
And of course, his father, Jay, went to 2 Final Fours, and his uncle, Bruce, went to 1. So that family has got their share of Final Four watches.
Palmer to get on the board. He does. Crawford Palmer. He has a brother playing for the Jazz, Walter Palmer. Played his ball at Dartmouth. Final 1 minute to go, and then we can set our sights on Indianapolis. Timeout called by David Kane.
Interesting timeout, and the reason may be that Louis wants to get all of his players to say that they played in an NCAA tournament game.
begins with the efficiency of sequential poured fuel injection. It flows through a power plant cradled in fluid-filled mountings, and it manifests itself in the precision of Bonneville's fully independent suspension. This is advanced technology you can feel. This is full-sized excitement from Pontiac. This is Bonneville.
If you at 7-Up with NutraSweet, break the ice.
Saturday on CBS, the Final Four show starts at noon. Then the women's semifinals, Connecticut, Virginia, Stanford, Tennessee. Then the men's Final Four show from Indianapolis, Kansas, North Carolina follows. And Duke and UNLV, the national championship game of a year ago, a rematch. Duke has wanted it after being embarrassed last year. Luke missing. And Udo gets it back in. Second.
They deserve one here. I hope it just drops for them. Luke just battling.
I'd like to say thanks to our crew. Coordinating producer of CBS Sports coverage of the NCAA Basketball Championship is Bob Dekas. Today's Midwest Regional Final, directed by Robert A. Fishman. The Road to the Final Four was produced by David Winter and directed by Duke Struck. And the senior producer for CBS Sports is Ed Warren, the executive producer, Ted Shaker. There's your goal, Billy.
And you can see Beckett got it. Louis Carnesecca smiling on the sidelines, realizing he came up shorthanded today.
Marty Clark gets a hand on it. Christian Ash tried to chase it down. Second oldest coach, Division I. Second only to Butch Van Bredikoff.
Only in age. You know, only in age. Yep. I mean, he is so young of spirit. He is so young of mind. I mean, not only his creativity, but his enthusiasm for the game. He's a special person.
I asked him yesterday, Coach, how many more years you want to coach for? He said, I don't even plan it. I'm going to keep on going until I don't want to.
Yeah, why would age be a factor? Nope. You know, I don't understand that.
Here's Clark. Marty Clark gets on the board for Duke. The Duke Blue Devils are headed back to the Final Four. An amazing 4 years in a row and 5 out of 6. Unheard of.
In this day and age.
Yes, in this day and age. Final Four for the 9th time, Duke. There are the brackets for the national semifinals. First time ever the Blue Devils advance to the Final Four out of a regional other than the East. The Chevrolet most valuable players, Malik Sealy of St. John's and Bobby Hurley with a monster game for Duke. There was never a doubt. Duke with all double-digit victories in the Midwest, heading to Indianapolis. And right now, let's steer you back to New York and Pat O'Brien.
All right, Jim Nance, thank you very much. See you at Indy, and they are celebrating up and down Tobacco Road, I guess. Well, everybody, tonight on CBS, stay tuned for the CBS News magazine, 60 Minutes. Who knows how much money Saddam Hussein has hidden away? 60 Minutes does. At least $10 billion stashed in 15 countries. 60 Minutes is next, except, of course, in the Pacific and Mountain time zones. Then it is Evening Shade, followed by the CBS Sunday movie, The Untouchables, starring Kevin Costner, Robert De Niro, Sean Connery, and the story of Al Capone's reign of terror and the men who risked their lives to end it. Well, we've nearly completed our odyssey to Indy. Let's take a moment now to tell you about what awaits us next weekend. Our CBS Sports exclusive coverage begins at noon Eastern Time with the Final Four show live from New Orleans, followed at 12:30 by the women's national semifinals. Then at 5 Eastern Time, we'll join you live from the Hoosier Dome with our men's Final Four show, followed by the national semifinals. That's just a great day. Game 1, Kansas against North Carolina, tip time 5:39. Game 2, UNLV against Duke, the rematch. On Sunday, the women will play their national championship. We'll have that for you at 4 o'clock Eastern. And on Monday night, join us at 8:30 Eastern for a prelude to a championship, followed by the 1991 National Championship game. And no, there will not be a test on all that. And when we come back here, we'll have some post-game interviews from out in Pontiac, Michigan. Stay with us.
Again and again. Duke is going back to the Final Four for the 4th year in a row. 5 out of 6. And Coach K and Bobby Hurley, congratulations, guys. Bobby, a great game from you today. 7 rebounds, in fact, led the Blue Devils in rebounding. What was the difference in this game?
Thanks a lot. This is a great win for us. I think, we played really good on defense, and we established ourselves early in the game and built a good lead.
Mike, ever since October 15th, people said, how do you beat Vegas? There's one big difference for you this year. You've got a full week to prepare as opposed to one day. How much difference?
Only you would ask about Vegas. I want to enjoy this. That gives them more time to get hurt, more time to get sick, maybe give us a little bit more time to get rested. Vegas is a great team, and in order to beat them, we would have to come up with some monumental effort. But who knows? We'll play them. We'll see what happens.
Don't tell me otherwise. You'll be up all night studying. I know that. Congratulations.
Billy, any thoughts on Vegas real quick?
Well, yeah, I think we're going to have a lot of time to rest up because we're going to need to rest with all the running we're going to have to do. And, we'll be ready to play this time, I think.
I'll let you join your teammates and go cut down some nets.
Going, guys.
The Duke Blue Devils, congratulations once more. They're headed to Indianapolis. And let's go to Pat O'Brien.
All right, Jim Nance. Thank you very much, Jim Nance, and for Mike Francesa and Quinn Buckner. And we had a good weekend. It was fun here.
Great time.
We'll see you in Indianapolis. So long, everybody.
The ball is hit. You feel the touch tonight. The rhythm in your shot. And your step is light. The crowd goes wild. This much is known. Win another game. You be